Most people, when I ask them, what's your idea bank, they show me the Apple Notes. Well, that's one way to do it. The problem is, in Apple Notes, those ideas, they get kind of lost. They don't really work for you. But there are better ways to organize an idea bank. What a great crowd came up here. So, okay, before I start, I'd love to ask, how many of you are creating content? All right, maybe like 60%, I would say. Amazing. Okay, let's get into it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about ideation, and I'm going to demo a lot. But before we go into it, I want to talk to you about why this is so dear to my heart and what we're doing. I am the head of product at Spotter. We're building a software called Spotter Studio. It's not available in the UAE yet, officially, but I have a little bit of a secret going on at the end. So first of all, let's take a look at some of these people here. I mean, you might have seen some of them. There are some of the creator economy here too, but what do all of these people have in common? Creativity, ideas. I've asked this question before, and things that I heard as well. They were all the best in their fields. For instance, they're all icons. They're all creatives. All of that is true, but there is one thing that makes all of these people specifically unique, and that is they all ideate probably more than you do. For instance, Taylor Swift. She writes hundreds of songs for each album that she releases. Ryan Trahan, one of our very own, he writes 10 ideas every day for new YouTube videos. He captures 10 ideas without fail every day. Albert Einstein, he released hundreds and hundreds of papers, only a few which were scientific breakthroughs. Picasso, he painted so much that some of them became hits. Quentin Tarantino, same thing. He actually writes a lot more. He writes every day. Stephen King writes every day too. You see him up here. And so there's a pattern here. All of these creators that are the best in their fields have one thing in common, and that is they ideate. They know that creativity doesn't come in the shower occasionally. It comes because you create, not after you create. If you look at one of those people specifically, Maya Angelou, who is one of the most famous poets of the last 100 years. One thing she said that really resonated with me is, you can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. And I know that might sound aspirational to some of you who might have a writer's block, and I have writer's block too. But you can get somewhere with this. You can get through the process and through the pain. And if you make it a habit, it will be better. I want to tell you that you're almost certainly not ideating enough. Who here comes up with new ideas for their content every day? Like, be fair. Okay, a few hands. That's awesome. Then, this talk will be easy for you, and you might already know some of these things. But in actuality, most creators jump from video to video, or maybe have 5 ideas in their Apple Notes or something like that. So currently, you're living your life carefree. You might enjoy this because of the lifestyle. But the ideal looks very different. If you see these creatives, they actually ideate every day. And there's a reason for that. Because, and it's a little bit hard to see, but I'm going to explain this. How does every creator find success? Well, usually, you throw a couple hundred bad videos on your YouTube channel. Now, one of those bad videos will find success with some audience on YouTube, and you feel like, whoa, I got it. I think I got it. And so that video maybe was a Filipino barbecue video. Okay, cool. So now you're going to enter the niche of Filipino barbecue. That's your big hit right here. And you're going to make 500 Filipino barbecue videos after that for the next 5 years. Now, at some point, there's a couple things that will happen. First of all, there will be no more Filipino barbecue topics. That's it. You have exhausted them. So you need to expand into a different niche. You need to expand your audience somehow. But the problem is, you're actually pretty insecure about it because you found this through a random process. You don't know where to go. You also have an inflated ego, maybe, because you have a big fan base. Maybe you have hundreds of thousands of followers, millions of followers, but you kind of feel stuck. And I've had hundreds and hundreds of conversations with creators. Before I joined Spotter, I was the head of creators at Google. And so that was my job, talking to creators every day. And almost everybody at some point ends up in the same boat. So now the problem is, the the production cost actually gets higher and higher because you need to make more sensational content, you need to make bigger content. And now suddenly it becomes very expensive to test using this method. So if you're a couple years into your career, can you imagine just making 100 videos to come up with your next niche? That's really time intensive, really expensive. And so, what can you do about that? Well, first of all, there's a certain process here, and we're going to show that in the tool in a second. But you first discover something that inspires you. It could come from nothing, but it could come from other content. It could come from something that inspires you in real life. You then go over to ideation. And ideation, for some people, it's titles first. For some people, it's thumbnails first, or title and thumbnail package first. Maybe it's a logline or a concept that inspires you first. Everybody ideates differently, and for everybody, an idea is something else. But you get to ideation, then you refine in the process, and you prioritize, and you stack rank. And then finally, hopefully, you produce a hit. OK, one of the most important things in this whole process is an idea bank. An idea bank is where you capture your ideas. And most people, when I ask them, what's your idea bank, they show me the Apple Notes. Well, that's one way to do it. But the problem is, in Apple Notes, those ideas, they get kind of lost. They don't really work for you. You can put them in your notebook, of course. But there are better ways to organize an idea bank. You maybe some advanced creators have created their own custom Notion, so you can get there. But the most important thing is that you have an idea bank in the first place. An idea bank is a place where you put all of your ideas in. Doesn't matter if they're bad or good. Any idea that you have goes into the bank. Now, beyond that, you need to figure out how to prioritize those ideas and let them bubble up. So there's this concept of 110-1. And the idea is that you start with 100 ideas. So ideally, you always have more than 100 ideas in your idea bank. You filter it to 10 that you really like. And then ultimately, you make one video. And if you do this well, and if you do this regularly, you get a sense of what works and what doesn't. And you can figure out whether an idea works before you actually make it. And that's way, way better in the long term and way cheaper in the long term. How does it look like when it comes to your week, for your work week? So I'm actually arguing, and this is true for almost everybody who has done this. You got to do this daily if you really want to move the needle. Now, if you can't come up with 10 ideas, that's OK. I talked to Ryan a couple days ago. I think he's moving to 5 ideas a day because 10 is stressing him out a little bit. Maybe it's 5. Maybe it's 2. But make it a habit. Come up with something every day. And that doesn't have to come from your brain. I'm going to talk about it in a second. But capture 2, 3, 4, 5 ideas every day. Then, on a weekly basis, prioritize them, flesh out the winners. And then on a monthly basis, figure out the overall theme. Maybe you have hundreds of ideas in your idea bank. Maybe some of those, 13 of those, are actually leading you to a new series for your channel, a new content series, a new format, a new theme, a new audience that you want to expand to. So that's the kind of like the cinematic universe that you're building. You have to reflect on that on a monthly basis to see where you're actually going. Now, there's a whole bunch of tools about this. Of course, I'm a little biased because I'm building one every day. And we're going to talk a little bit about Spotter Studio today. I put these on an axis. So, of course, you can use your brain. The good news is your brain is highly personalized. It's your brain. But also, you forget a lot. So it doesn't really work that well as an idea bank. You can use Apple Notes, Notebook. You can use ChatGPT. These work. They're not highly personalized most of the time. I mean, ChatGPT added memory. But it's not the same as actually understanding your content in your channel. And they have somewhat long-term memory. But if you have lots of chats in ChatGPT, it does get disorganized. And then, of course, you can whiteboard on a whiteboard. But I'm going to show you Studio today. So let's move over to the demo. So I'm logged in as one of our demo creators right now. And this is we actually built the software with creators, for creators. With all of them, we've partnered and we've ideated together and figured out what features do they need, what features do they not need. If you're not familiar with Dude Perfect is a large trick shot sports entertainment creator crew on YouTube with over 60 million subscribers. And they use Studio in their weekly ideation. So on your dashboard, you see all your working projects. So this is essentially your idea bank. You see your latest published videos and outliers from creators you follow. Now, the first step is discovery of content. Now, you might go onto YouTube directly and be inspired. We have our own outlier section. You can see this in other tools as well, but here you can discover what works for others. Now, the idea here is not that you steal content and clone content. The idea is something that you probably do all the time already. It's like you look at what everybody else is doing and you figure out, you get a spark from that. You get a sense of like, hey, this is a thing that I can adapt to my audience. And the good news is, so right now this is showing all of YouTube in the last couple of weeks. Now, not all of this content is relevant to Dude Perfect, but we filter it with something we call audience also watch. So these are videos that we think your audience watches after they watch your content. So they're already highly personalized. And now I get a whole bunch of sports videos, trick shot videos, entertainment videos. And what's unique about this is that it gives me an overperforming score. And the idea of this is like, for instance, if you see a Mr. Beast video and it has tens of millions of views, that's actually a really bad video for Mr. Beast. And so you don't necessarily know, is this a good video, is this a bad video? That's why we added a relative outlier score to this to show you, is this video overperforming for that particular creator? And that gives you the sense of, okay, can this work for me? Could this work for me? You can also look at your own videos. So here I'm looking at Dude Perfect's channel, and these are all their own videos, and you can see which videos have performed well relative to my other videos and which videos have not performed well. And I can even use those as inspiration for a future video. Now, inspiration can come from everywhere, but that's a very common source, other videos. I'm going to start from scratch, though. So if I go back to the home screen, you know, you can start with nothing, like you can do a Google search and say, I feel lucky. But you can also start with a keyword. And so you do this every day or every week, maybe. When you try to come up with an idea, you might be in Dubai right now. So you think, well, what video could I make with Dubai? We kind of automate that. So if you type Dubai in here and hit Enter, we're going to come up with some ideas. Now, these are all in title form. The unique thing about this is that you could ask ChatGPT the same question, but these ideas are all personalized. They all follow the style and the titling and the brand of the actual creator that's logged in. So if you use this tool, these will be titles that work in exactly your format, exactly your style. Now, any of these, if you like them, you can choose them. Or if you don't like them, okay, Desert Detective Battle, kind of like that. I can keep going, and we really try to make this work like a creative tool that works the way your brain works. So for instance, if you're continuing here, you can rephrase the video title, you can shorten it, you can explode it. Explode is a really fun one. You can shift the mood. One of the most important ways you have to target your packages on YouTube is creating a curiosity gap. And the way you create a curiosity gap, the way you make somebody click, is by making them interested. Oftentimes, that is putting them into a specific mood. For instance, let's actually give this a try. We could make the audience feel delighted about the video. We can make them feel generous. We can make them feel anxious. We can make them feel attacked. We can make them feel shocked. But all of these moods are moods that make me want to click on this video. And so if I nail-biting detective face off, sure, I'll take that. I can also keep exploring. One thing that's very unique about this is that you can hover over certain words, and you can see this is actually inspired by data, so these are not random proposed titles. But this, for instance, is a word. Siege is a word that overperforms in the category of Let's Play videos. So we look at your categories of videos, and then we make data-driven titles that actually would work for you. But if I like one of those titles, let's see, I kept this one. As you can see, I'm already building a new video. I'm going to come up with some thumbnails for this video. These thumbnails, because I uploaded pictures of my channel, will actually use the likeness of the channel and will follow the actual thumbnail style of the channel. So if you have a YouTube channel, it will look at all your past titles and your videos and your thumbnails, will create log lines from them, will understand the thumbnail composition, and then imitate that for pre-visualization. So these are not thumbnails that are meant for you to actually use, right? So these are all in cartoon style. You can switch this, but what they're meant for is representing an idea. So again, this is about finding ideas quickly. Now, if I like one of those things, I was trying to see my mouse here. Okay, I can keep it. I have the same options here. I can keep ideating, I can keep refining, I can explode this thing. What this does is it creates a prism of different options for me that all go in different directions. For example, let's see, we now have a scary looking one. Okay. We have a cinematic one, we have an epic one, we have a whimsical one. And I can keep going and I can keep iterating if I'm not happy yet. I can also add additional descriptions, etc. So this is the brainstorming mode, AI brainstorming mode of Studio. Come up with new ideas for your video. So this is a pretty good one. Dramatic. I would watch that, I think. Now, so this is how I can build an idea from scratch if I have no inspiration. Now, all of our creators that use this slightly differently. Can go back to the home screen, and then, for instance, one of our creators, Sambucha, usually just hits surprise me, and then he stays in title ideation for a very long time. So now he will simply come up with lots and lots of different titles for videos, and you might not like any in the first 50. But the point is, you gotta iterate a lot, and you can do this on your own on a whiteboard. You can do this in a notebook. But this makes it a lot simpler. You can, of course, also do this with ChatGPT, with an LLM, but this makes it really, really easy and it's personalized. And then you keep whatever you like in your idea bank. And later on, when you're happy, over time, you're actually going to build a whole lot of ideas. So if I look at my own here, this is my idea bank for Dude Perfect. And all of those ideas, I've ideated this morning, actually, the first 10 or so. So it was very quick to do this because it already knows me, the tool. And now I have a lot to pull from if I really want to make a video next. And so the more you do this, the more you put into the system, the more it gives you confidence. And it's the same thing as having multiple, not living paycheck by paycheck, but actually having savings in your bank account. So that's a little bit of a glimpse into Studio. Now, again, my point here is not that you specifically use Spotter Studio. I mean, this is the easiest way for me to demo. But my point is that you do this in the first place. Now, before I go to questions, I have one little announcement. I've created a free trial plan this morning. Usually, if you sign up for a free trial for Studio, you actually have to put in your credit card. We are not officially in the UAE yet. And so because we're not, because I wanted to give you the ability to try it out anyway if you like to, hit me up on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, DM me if you want access, and I'll give you a promo code to get into the tools without a credit card to give it a try. We're starting to figure out how do we bring Studio to the UAE, and we have more announcements soon. But whatever you do, I would love if you ideate more and tell me about your success, please. Thank you. All right, I think we have time for maybe 2 questions or so. Does anybody have a question I can answer about ideation, about anything?
Hi.
Hi.
So thank you very much for introducing the tool for us. I think it's a very interesting tool. I'm just gonna talk from experience with AI. The struggle we usually have is the different tastes of the demographics. So for example, we create Arabic content, and AI doesn't understand that this is something that maybe it's relevant outside in the US or the Europe, but it doesn't relate here to us. So in terms of Spotter Studio, I was just wondering, did you have that in mind in terms of, I want it custom made to our region?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we do a couple of things. That's very true. The first one is, by default, we look at the last 15 or so videos on your own channel, and we figure out what kind of content you make based on that. So ideally, when you're ideating, it will be inspired by what you made in the past. Now, you do have a slider in the ideation process. You can set it to YouTube best practices, and then it will ideate based on what your audience also watched. Now, these videos, hopefully, if your channel is Arabic, they will also be Arabic content. So it should be inspired by Arabic content and not by US English content. But also, I haven't tested it much in the Arabic world. So, but it should work. But of course, we will keep improving it if it doesn't. Yeah, great question.
Hello, I'm Mahsa. I really try to be creative when I want to create a video, but after I uploaded my videos, I didn't get many likes and comments that I expect before. What should I do now? Can you guide me, please?
Yeah, so I mean that's a frustrating experience that I think all of us had to struggle with at some point, including myself. I created content before. It's usually so if you heard about the concept of ikigai, I mean I think you have to find this Venn diagram, this triangle of like, what do you actually want to make? What does the market want? And then what are you actually good at making? And if all of these three overlap, then you found something really good. And now it's easy to be said, it's actually hard to do. In this particular case, for a YouTube creator, you have to look at, for instance, the white space on YouTube. What are people searching for that they're not getting, that they're not finding? That's one way to get to success. Another way to get to success is combining trends. So there's a secret room trend. There's also a 100 years of trend. Maybe you combine the 100 videos of secret rooms, because there's now a lot of secret rooms videos. So you combine trends to create new trends. Or you find a hyper niche that simply has not been explored before. There's many routes to success, but ultimately you have to find demand. You have to find a supply-demand gap. And I think I'm out of time. Thank you so much. I'm going to be roaming around, and please get in touch if you have more questions. Thank you.